Quiet Place is the new thriller that tells the tale of a family living in the woods who are forced to live in silence for fear of being killed by these creatures who haunt only by sound. It is directed by and stars John Krasinski, and playing his wife in the movie is his real-life wife, Emily Blunt. And walking in this movie, I was really intrigued. Not only just with the concept, I mean, I like it when it's an original story, not an adaptation, remake, reboot, but also John Krasinski stepping outside of his comfort zone and doing a challenging movie like this. Not only going away from, comedy to doing a thriller, but especially a movie like this where you really have to convey everything without any dialogue. And I was fascinated how he did it. Just the cast all around had great performances where, they wore all the emotions on their face and you were right there with them. Like, it's weird how you can sympathize with these characters, even though, of course they communicate with each other, but they really don't say anything to each other. And just like the vocal part of an actor's performance is removed or restricted in this one, but yet you totally know where every character comes from. You can sympathize with them. So I was very impressed by just not the overall direction of this movie and the performances. And as far as the suspense scenes, when these creatures that are hunting them, whenever they make an incidental noise, a noise off wherever, when the creatures are on the hunt, it is white knuckle gripping kind of tension. Like, you're wondering what's going to happen. You hear a noise, and like I said, it kind of makes you think, are you making a noise in the theater? Is someone else making a noise? Is there really a noise on? So every little noise that you hear, it's just like kind of jittery, like just like what's going to happen? Or is that going to snap? Is that going to try to kill something? And it's fascinating how in between those scenes where, they're on the hunt and there's all this tension, normally I would complain like, oh, these are just filler scenes, just kind of showing this, that, and the other. But they're fascinating. They're showing me, how they go about their day, how they feed themselves, how they entertain themselves without making any noise. And so some of the scenes that normally would feel like, oh, this is kind of dragging the story out, it fascinated me. It showcased just how they went about their day. But at the same time, while those scenes answered some questions I might have had about how they lived in this world, it also begged more questions that they didn't answer, where I won't go into any spoilers, but there are scenes where they are able to talk to each other. Their voices aren't too loud. And it is in some designated areas. And I'm like sitting there like, why don't they just move there? I mean, sure, they won't be able to go about their day normally, but they can at least make a little noise, at least to the point where they don't have to live in fear every little noise that they make that these creatures are going to kill them. But it's one of those things where, did I get lost in my own head, or does the film really kind of leave that open and, it's apparent to everyone? And I think a good addition to the suspense is the opening scene, where I won't go into any spoilers or anything, but after the opening scene, you realize just about anything can happen in this movie. So when the creatures are on the hunt or whatever is going on, you realize just out of nowhere, something can happen, something horrible can go wrong. So even when they're just going about their normal day and you don't feel like anything's gonna happen, in the back of your head, you always wonder something might happen, because you can't control all the noise in the world. Who knows? Something could fall, something can break. It can make just the loudest, maybe not super loud, but just loud enough for one of these creatures to come get you. And it's very tension filled. And I guess if I had one complaint about this movie, it somehow manages a fourth act in a 90-minute movie. And I can understand, because, if they would have cut that out, the movie would have been barely 80 minutes. So I understand them adding that on. But I feel like the story could have ended sooner, and I don't know if it would have been better, but I don't think it would have been affected too much to the point where they need that little add-on. But when the movie does end, I will admit I was pleased that there are people in the crowd who are like groaning, like, what, that's it? Because it showed that the movie was entertaining and they wanted more. But where it ends, it's one of those things where it's like, what's happening, what's going to go on next. They don't need to show it.
Buffs.
Overall, I had to say I had a really good time watching A Quiet Place. It was an effective thriller, well-directed, well-acted, and there are a few flaws there, but I could forgive it because it was such an entertaining ride. So I'm going to give A Quiet Place an 8 out of 10. It's a movie I recommend you go see, especially, if you're hanging out with the family this weekend.
Buffs.
All right, so that's it for the review for A Quiet Place. What did you guys think of the movie? Was there too much dialogue? Was there not enough? Go ahead and leave a comment down below, and be sure to join us next week when we review Rampage. I mean, The Rock doesn't make a great movie every time, but he's always given an entertaining performance. So hopefully this will carry on after Tomb Raider for being maybe an okay video game movie. Anyway, we'll bring you that review next week. But whatever you're doing, whoever you're hanging out with, please watch more movies.